Mubarak Bala, imprisoned Nigerian atheist, faces new charges. So this is an update on the case of Mubarak Bala. On August 3rd, the High Court of Kano State in Nigeria formally charged Mubarak Bala, an atheist and the president of the Humanist Association of Nigeria, for causing public disturbance. The High Court's charges, which come as a highly delayed action, revolve around Bala's Facebook posts, which spanned over 2020. As the president of the Humanist Association of Nigeria, Bala intended to use his public social media account to express his sentiments against religion. On August 25th, 2020, Bala declared on Facebook that the Prophet Muhammad is a violent radical extremist. Can't say the T word because of YouTube. He was arrested 3 days later and was not seen again by his family. Bala was imprisoned without any charges for almost 2 years. Several international organizations who have been keeping a close eye on Bala's whereabouts and well-being have reported multiple violations against his rights, including the court's denial to give Bala an expedient and fair trial. So yes, hashtag free Mubarak Bala. So just a quick recap. Back in April 2020, he made a post on Facebook where I can't remember it verbatim, but basically he was making a comparison of a local religious leader being very extreme. And my remembrance of it is that he was saying like, oh, it's no wonder that this guy is so extreme and violent. Like, look who his prophet is. Like, you know, they share T-word sentiments, kind of. And so he was subsequently arrested 3 days later for blasphemy, essentially. I don't think that was his formal charge, but that was the impetus behind his arrest. Well, actually, no, it wasn't their formal charge because so he was living in the southern state of Abuja, and he was then taken from Abuja, which is more Christian and doesn't have the same influence of Sharia law in that state as the northern state of Kano. And he was taken to Kano State. And this was hugely distressing to everyone who was following his case because in Kano State, they implement Sharia law where Bala is an ex-Muslim, and under Sharia law, he would be subject to potentially the death penalty for blasphemy. Since then, the rest of his case has just been like violation after violation of his rights. I believe in Nigeria, it's the law that you have to be charged within 48 hours of being arrested. So this is over 465 days later. Now he has 10 new charges for the first time. What else did I want to say? So there was a lot of... he wasn't even allowed to see legal counsel for 5 months. Like, people didn't even know if he was alive or the status of his health because he has hypertension for like 5 months. And there was even a... let me refresh my memory real quick. There was a federal notice. Has been detained without charge for more than a year in contravention of a federal high court ruling. So this went to the federal level where there were judges who were like, you can't do this. Like, this is illegal. And it just, his illegal detainment without charge just still continued despite this high court ruling. And at the time the charges were filed, Bala's legal team were petitioning the federal high court in Abuja, seeking the transferal of Bala's case to a neutral territory where he may have the possibility of fair trial. So obviously, like I said, in Kano State, where they have Sharia law, where he was transferred to, everyone involved had severe concerns about not only his safety in complete police custody, the potential laws that he would be subjected to, because Nigeria's religious secular laws is just confusing and contradictory. And also because the quote unquote crime didn't even occur in Kano State. Like, he made the statement on Facebook. This, again, let's remember that this is all over a Facebook post down in the southern state of Abuja. And there is one kind of good news from this. Okay, so the charges that he faces were for public disturbance, okay, under sections 210 and 411 of the Penal Code of Kano State. And the silver lining is that now there actually are charges that his defense can move forward in, taking up and appealing, and they can actually move forward in the legal process instead of just being stuck in this limbo of completely illegal detainment. And he has been charged under customary law. So this is really good because, well, it's relatively good because that means that he customary law is applicable across the Federation of Nigeria, as opposed to the Sharia law, which can be forced on Muslims. So under the customary law, blasphemy is classified as a misdemeanor, punishable by 2 years in prison, whereas under Sharia law, the penalty is death. So the fact that he was charged under customary law is hopeful in the sense that should he be sentenced, found guilty and sentenced, he wouldn't be facing the death penalty. So that's kind of a good thing. But organizations that are working on his case, like Humanist International, still are expressing grave concerns over his ability to even receive a fair trial in Kano State.
Wait, so how many laws do we have in Nigeria? Like, we have a Sharia law, we have customary law. So we know like half of Nigeria is Christian, half of it is like Islamic, right? North and south, right? Then we have like the Islamic part has like Sharia law. Is the customary law the one that is not Sharia, or do we have like other laws as well? Like, how does that work?
To be honest, I've tried to study this before and I got way too confused to give you a correct answer. But I do know that in the states where they do have Sharia law, like, it is only applicable to Muslims. So organizations like Humanist International are arguing that he's a humanist. Sharia law cannot be imposed on him. But so there might be people who are proponents of that who say, well, he's an ex-Muslim. He grew up Muslim. Therefore, he's still within our jurisdiction, so to speak. That's my speculation.
Yeah, this is so amazing because the understanding is that the Sharia law applies to Muslims, but they're like, I'm an ex-Muslim, I'm not Muslim. Like, no, you don't get to leave. You are like, our laws are like hooked into you. But here's another thing. So he got lucky. So he's like getting charged not with Sharia law, but with like non-Sharia law in Nigeria. But that means that non-Sharia law in Nigeria still sees this as criminal. Like, so we have Sharia law that sees this as criminal, which is potentially have the death sentence. But the one law that is also not Sharia, they're like, oh yeah, we're not Sharia, but this is still a crime. You don't get to have an opinion about Muhammad like this. You get charged. Like, this is what you could expect from the non-Sharia law in Nigeria. Like, what the? And guys, this is over a Facebook. This is just this man has been in prison right now for 2 years over a Facebook post, just merely expressing his opinion. Just expressing his opinion. And not within the jurisdiction of these laws anyways, when he did that, right? Mm-hmm. Like this is, guys, Nigeria is like one of the biggest, like, this is the 7th most populated country in the world. Like, this is I want people to understand Nigeria. I think it's the most populated country in Africa. It's the number one, is it?
Check.
Yeah, but it is like, and soon to become, like, Nigeria is growing really fast compared to the other countries. Like, right now, I think when it comes to population is 7. Eventually, it's going to become, like, based on estimations, it's going to be like 4 or 5.
It is, like, Nigeria, the most populous country in Africa.
The most populous country in Africa is Nigeria, and it's one of the biggest in the world. Soon to go from 7 to 5 to 4, right? 5 or 4, right? So people should take Nigeria very seriously. Like, we're talking about laws that are influencing a lot of people, like a lot of people. And And this is a country that us secular and atheist activists have to care about a lot, especially because it's one of the only countries where you have two religions to deal with. Not like this is going to be a major battleground for us secular and atheist activists, because this is a country that there's a clash of two different religions. It's not like other countries where you're either dealing with Hinduism mostly, or Christianity mostly, or Islam mostly. This is like, yeah. So like, I don't know. It's going to. I do want us to. Yeah, I mean, this is why Mubarak Bala was so important, also because this is a country that very much needed secular activism, and this guy was on the front lines of protecting people's rights. And this guy was not just like, look at what D said here in the live chat. Like, this guy was so awesome. He was such a. I mean, it's such a shame for a country to like, to arrest this guy. Like, this is a treasure. You should like any country that doesn't celebrate having somebody like Mubarak Bala. Like what a shame. This is your national treasure, and instead of like celebrating him, oh yeah, this comment.
D was saying we were Facebook friends. He was also helping people in trouble trying to leave their respective countries. He's such a sweetheart. Yeah, so for those who aren't familiar with his story, like, he kind of came to international attention. I believe it was 2014 when he was forcibly imprisoned in a like psych ward, a mental institution, by his family when he left Islam, because they just thought he was completely insane for doing so. It was actually like a prerequisite of leaving Islam is that you had to be insane. Like, I think that was their attitude. And it took the efforts of international atheist organizations to help get him out of that institution where he was like forcibly kept for like, I think 2 weeks. And then since that event happened, that got a lot of attention. That's kind of my understanding, is that's kind of what really inspired him to take on his activism in the way that he does and become a leader, a humanist and atheist leader in Nigeria. So if you guys want to learn more about his case, I would encourage you guys to go watch a video that Armin and I did shortly after he was first arrested in 2020. If you just look on this channel for like Mubarak Bala, Leo Igwe, where we interview Leo Igwe, who is one of the most inspirational atheist activists who I've ever talked to, who does a lot of interesting work that we'll touch on later. And talk about the situation, share it with other people, because a lot of people don't understand how high the stakes are for people across the world, that something as simple as a Facebook post could, just destroy your life in this way. When he was arrested and illegally transferred, he had like a 6-week-old child, like, who he still hasn't been able to see. His wife, didn't even know if he was alive for months, like half a year.
Wait, he hasn't been able to see, after 2 years, hasn't been able to see his child yet?
I don't think so.
Oh my God.
He wasn't even present in court when he was formally charged with public disturbance. And I would also like to highlight that I think these charges are bogus. The public disturbance was caused by these random lawyers who filed the petition against him. And I read the petition that these lawyers submitted to the police, and their reasoning in this petition is that this guy needs to be arrested because his speech will cause Muslims to be violent. It's victim blaming. And also, wow, in their effort to like protect their profit, they're actually revealing how little they think of Muslims, because they're like, we have to go after the person who said these things because Muslims will be violent against him. That was like, if you can find it on Twitter, that's where I read it. Like, I was like, wow, okay. And I also just want to read a quick statement that Andrew Cobson, the president of Humanist International, made when talking about these new charges. It has taken the Kano state authorities more than a year to bring formal charges against Mubarak Bala. Their failure to do so until now highlights still further these charges' lack of basis. We reiterate our consistent calls. If Mubarak is to be tried, it must be in a place with the jurisdiction to do so and where he can expect a fair trial. Humanist International believes that Mubarak Bala is being targeted for the peaceful exercise of his rights to freedom of expression and religion or belief, and calls for him to be transferred to a neutral territory in order to ensure his right to a fair trial. So I just want to reiterate that everything about this situation is, well, I mean, I'm no lawyer, but I believe it's illegal and baseless.
Yeah, it's amazing. We actually hear that a lot when people come and blame, like when we like blaspheme, or when we like saying something that other people are offended by, and then you see other people getting angry and reacting, and sending threats, and becoming disturbed, and maybe like make life very difficult for other people. They come and say like, oh, it's your fault because you desecrated the Quran, or you made this cartoon, or you said this word, and now they're reacting in a violent or threatening way, and they're like, well, you didn't have to do that. Like, what? Yeah. It's very sad because we actually kind of see that attitude a little bit from our own community as well, when it comes to fighting, when it comes to saying things against Islam or doing things that are Muslims find offensive, because we actually see that attitude coming from like people, like our own people, our favorite people, like Hamad Mehta or like Steph Andrews now seem like to be in favor of that kind of like, oh yeah, when you're like blaspheming against Christianity, they're like, yeah, this is like normalizing things. But all of a sudden, when you do the same thing, when we do the same thing, or other people do the same thing about Islam, they call you like a provocateur, or they're saying like, oh, I don't think this is the way, this is not going to get the right reaction. It's kind of like that victim blaming mentality when it comes to Islam, but not when it comes to Christianity, which is such a bizarre way of looking at this. So like, oh no, this is not the right way. Okay, sure, buddy. Just like given to the crowd, just accept the intimidation tactics, like in cower way. Like, well, while other people are actually trying to normalize actual dissent.
To be fair, I think Seth Andrews' criticism was more about our approach being subject to the law of diminishing returns. So I don't think he has the same flavor of hypocrisy that Hemet did when it came to your desecration of the Quran versus the Satanic Temple's actions, because that's where we had a whole stream about that contention. Right?
Yeah, I mean, Seth criticized me personally as well. That's that's based on other things almost. I actually have to go back to look at what he said to me before. I have to remind myself.
Because there's other stuff that he said that was highlighting how ridiculous the treatment we've received from the Indian government is.
That was after. So maybe he walked it back. But basically, these people but a lot of these people find us untouchable right now. They don't want to have to do anything. Like after we went after Hinduism, after we've desecrated the Quran, they're like, they don't want to do anything with us anymore. They don't want to associate with us. And just like, this is so unfair because Islam, like we can see cases like this, that Islam is something that requires more normalization, requires more, desensitizing of communities like this, because other people, especially for people like us who don't pay the price, right? Like people like Mubarak Bala are paying the price, so we don't pay the price. Like we do these things with no risk to us and no severe consequences to us. So if we can do something to normalize, blaspheming or desecrating the Quran or saying things that other people find offensive, just so that to create an environment where saying these things are just so common that people can't afford to just be constantly butthurt over all of them, that just creates a safer place, a safer environment online for the people who are at the front lines, for people who actually do have to pay their price, right? I see it like as not just something that I see it as a necessity for us to
Mm-hmm.
do these things, right?
I
Anyways.
think personally, I find it to be spitting in the face of everyone who's sitting in jail or on death row for blasphemy to not participate in this. If you guys are interested in kind of a little bit of my thesis on why engaging in blasphemy is a legitimate form of activism, I'd encourage you to watch my speech that I did at CFI. So if you search on this channel for Blasphemous Art Project, like Center for Inquiry speech, you can find me like really dissecting and expanding on those thoughts. One atheist activist who I still really admire for like his other work called it the bottom of the barrel lowest form of activism.
What? Wait, what can you elaborate? What did they call the bottom of the barrel?
Our blasphemy against Hinduism.
Okay, who was this? Who said this?
I don't know if I want to say right now.
Okay. Wow. All right. Well, just you did the coward's way of activism. Just say, you go ahead and just say the things that people, don't have any say the easy things. Say the things that people just clap for like seals and don't have much resistance to. Just take the easy way out, and the rest of us will go forward with saying the things that gets a backlash, because those are the things that are often deserves to be said. Need to be said. All right, and you just take the coward ways out, and we'll keep normalizing dissent. Thank you very much. Anyways, oh yeah, B is saying that was a brilliant speech. Yeah, guys, go check that out. Like, Susanna made such a perfect case for why we do our blasphemy, for why we're doing our dissent. So, guys, it was really well. Like, what should people search for when they go? What's your case for our blasphemy?
I think if they search Blasphemous Art Project speech, Center for Inquiry Canada, or CFIC, they should find it.
Okay, just search
also,
for Susanna.
I think if you go to my Instagram, which is linked in the description, it's still the link that's in my bio, if I remember correctly. So that's maybe the easiest.
Just let me actually just search for Susanna CFI.
Oh, okay. I can find the exact title. The Blasphemous Art Project Speech at Center for Inquiry Canada 2021.
Okay, but I want to make it easy for people to give them just 3 words to search for.
Okay.
Yeah, just search for Susanna CFI blasphemy. The first video that shows up is that
really?
Susanna CFI. Yeah, Susanna CFI.
This event is.
Sorry.
There, that's okay. All right.
Hey guys, if you're a fan of blasphemy and sexy Callie, like me, then you need to be sure to subscribe to our newsletter. Link in the description below. Because if you subscribe, we will send you a free copy of our Blasphemous Art ebook. And let me tell you, it is the tastiest blasphemy that you can find anywhere available today. And we are so generous with our blasphemy that we continue to send you more blasphemy every week. So make sure to subscribe. Link in the description below.